Hey, Instructor Connolly, Monroe Mann here for my yellow belt test. I have my friend Junior here from Miami. I'm down in Miami Beach for the week, and he's helping me out. And for those of you on YouTube, please click like, subscribe, and share a comment, good or bad, it's all good. So today is my yellow belt exam for Krav Maga. I've got my requirements here that I'm going to be looking at. So the first is the straight punch from 3 different angles. So I'll be doing that first and then explaining it. And so what I'm doing here, it's similar to the palm strike, which I'll be demonstrating again in a moment. Again, shoulders square.
Just a little more back for you.
Oh yeah. So shoulders square, and when I punch, I'm pivoting, and you can see my front leg is pivoting a little bit as well, and my shoulder is coming up to my cheek to provide protection in case somebody's trying to punch me from that side or it's a haymaker. So it'd be like this. And the cross, similar, but it's just the back foot that's pivoting. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So that is the front punch, straight punch. Next are the inside defenses. I'll show them from 3 angles, and then Junior's gonna help by actually throwing some punches my way. So the inside defense is basically, you're basically clapping like this, but with one hand. So if the punch comes over here, I can not only push it away, but move my head. So 1, block, block. And it's called an inside defense because I'm using my palm to push it to the inside. So we'll do it for 3 different angles. Okay. Go ahead. Great. Switch. And we'll kind of do it from like this angle right here. Okay, go ahead. Great. And then from this side, make sure we're in the right up. Okay. Great. And so the idea with that is, again, it's just using the momentum of the direction the punch is coming from to just keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. This isn't part of the yellow belt test, but it was part of the instruction, one of the lessons from Instructor Koppel, and I'll just show how you can turn that into an arm pull and an arm bar. So if you do that slowly, just do it that side. Okay, I can push here, step in and grab, and then move this forward, and it now becomes an arm bar. And if you do it with the other side, so inside defense, you can switch, step in, pull down, and you can have a lot of control in that way with the arm bar. So moving on, those were the 2 combatives for punches and fightings, excuse me. Now I'm going on to the combatives. The palm strike, which I did for part of the white belt test, and the mid-yellow belt test is similar to the straight punch, except I'm using my open palms. Why do you do that? Because A, you're less likely to break your knuckles. B, you have a bigger surface area, so you can hit something more likely. And C, it's not as aggressive, perhaps, as a straight punch. So if you're trying to just be purely defensive initially, that may be what you want to do. And then if it's all bets are off, you can switch to the punches. So again, it's like the straight punch. It's 1, 2, and you notice my chin and my shoulder, it's the same thing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. On the side. 1, 2, 2, 2. On this side. 2, 2, 2. And that is the palm strike. Next is the hammer fist. And the hammer fist, there are 3 types. There is the inward, the sideward, and the downward. So I'll do all 3 of them from the 3 different angles. First is the inward. It's right there. It's kind of like a straight punch, but it's hammer fist and coming in. Inward, 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 inward. Then we have, I'll just do it from these 3 angles. There we go. Then inward. and then an inward from this side. Next is the downward, which is basically the inward but going down. So it's generally when someone is maybe bent over or they're already on the ground. And you do the inward hammer fist coming down and you squat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From the side. And from this side. Gotta say, this Miami Beach heat, it's hot, Junior. It's very hot. And then next is the sideward. So, for example, if somebody's gonna push me, if Junior did push me, not yet, from the side, he could push me like this. I grab my balance and then hammer fist right into his head. So, and it's from this side, boom. And then you always try to turn to face your enemy. So if you did, go ahead and push me from the side, boom, and then right back in there, and then turn. And then from the other side, and from this angle, okay, and from this angle, and we'll do it one more time from each of the angles because I think we need to do it again. Go ahead. And one more from this end. Great, and so those are the 3 types of hammer fists. So those are the punching and fighting requirements and the combative requirements. Next are the self-defense techniques. So I'll do each one giving the explanation first, and then my partner Junior will actually put it to the test with me. So for 360 blocking, think of our arms as like hands of a clock. They can move in all different directions and protect from all 360 degrees, of the clock. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so what I'm doing is each time I'm stepping in a little bit and trying to meet it before it gets to full speed. The more I can step in to stop it, it means the less momentum is coming at me. So the idea is to block it before it actually gets really close and it's got a lot of speed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and this last one is simulating a direct, basically kind of an uppercut strike with a knife. I'm jumping because I want to make sure that even though I block it, I don't want the tip, it could be 6 inches, going into my belly. And so the same thing with this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hopping a little bit. And you'll see this more from this angle on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll demonstrate this now with Junior. So we'll start from this angle and do the clock first, and then when we're done, you can do whatever angle you want. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 2, 1. Okay. And now switch. We'll go to this side. Good. This angle. That one hurt. That one hurt. Good. And so now he'll just come at me from this angle with our barrage, whatever angle he wants. Okay, so So that demonstrates 360 blocking. Next is the cover in advance. So if someone's coming with a haymaker, which is whoom, coming across like this or like that, it's often sometimes easier to get in, cover your head to make sure you're not going to get hit by that thing, and advance using these elbows to kind of crash into that person's collarbone and or their throat. And then not only do you prevent them, they'll pass you, the fist will bypass, you'll block it over here, and you're covering your head, and then you're very close, you can easily start doing combatives. It's counterintuitive, I think, to go in, but in this situation, you don't want to just stand there while this thing gathers so much speed and boom, clocks you in the head. So, for example, he'll come in with a haymaker, and I can grab at this point, and combatives, knees, disengage. Okay, from this angle. me. Punch. Could also with the instep kick. Okay, we'll do one more from this angle. Okay, so that's the cover in advance. Next is a single wrist grab. There are two ways to get out of it, and it depends whether it's across your body or on the same side. If it's the same side, I can just show you. I just grab the same side, or the same side. If it's right here, I can pull this up, and because his wrist is grabbing this way, it kind of wants to disengage that way because his fingers aren't going that way. I can just bring it up and pop. The other way, if it's a cross wrist grab, I can't really pop this way because it's just pushing his wrist into my wrist more. So in this case, I can reach over, pull up, and push this elbow as a pivot into that. So it's kind of three things happening. I'm pulling up, pivoting in, and stepping back all at the same time. And then proceeding with whatever combatives. So those are the two ways with the single wrist grab. And he's going to demonstrate that with me. We'll do it slowly now because we'll do the other drill later. So this way, let's cross. Go ahead. Good. Cross. Same wrist grab, so I could do the same thing like this, or I can pop that away. Pop. Pop. Okay, so this one is a cross, so got to reach over and pop out that way. Okay, now you can really try to hold on. Ready? It's sweaty out here, so it's hard even. Good. Can I switch to this angle?
Ready to try to hold on?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh. Good. And from this angle. That was good. Cool. Okay, so that's the one-handed wrist grab. I think the next is the two-handed. The two-handed high. So for this one, it's a slapping motion down like this. So if my hands are up here and they're grabbed, I can easily get out of it, quote unquote, by slapping my hands and rotating down and back all at the same time. So slap, down, and back. And that should break free. If for whatever reason that person has a really good grip, I can do an instep kick. I can stomp on the foot. I can do anything. Try to break that person's grip on me, and then I can then do that to try to get away. So Just grabbing up front. So again, I slap, bring down, and step back. From this angle. From this angle. And this angle. Cool. Similar is the low double wrist grab, except in this case, we're clapping, going up, and then back. Same exact principles. So he grabs it right here. I'm gonna slap, come up, and come away. Now when I was doing that, it was a little tough. He was holding it pretty tight. And I was saying, like, if it doesn't seem like you're gonna make much headway, you've got your feet. So go right between his legs, because he clearly can't defend it very well because he's holding both of my, or we haven't learned this yet, but you do a kick right there. But for here, boom, and then slap up and back. From this angle, clap up and back. Clap up and back. This angle. Clap up and back. Clap up and back. Clap up and back. So that's the two-handed choke low. The next are the three main chokes for this level. The escape from the front, escape from the back, and escape from the side. So we'll do the front first. So if someone does come up choking me here, basically what I want to do is first, it can be either leg, but whichever leg you step back with, you shoot the other one straight up. So if this one's left, go straight up. I know Instructor Connolly told me you should do the swoop motion so we don't get caught up. So we'll do that. So I step back and swoop up. Okay, so the person's still choking me, but I can catch their arm right here. Now I'm in this position where I can twist my hips very forcefully to the left. Boom. And that should break the grip here. And then if you immediately then pull your arm down, you can trap their two arms. And from there are a lot of different things you can do. Generally, you can twitch to an elbow to the head and then pivot and just continue with additional combatives. So we'll try that from 3 different angles. So he comes choking in, I step back and over, pivot, down, and then I can then elbow him, go into a side clinch if I want, pull him around, kick him, etc. We'll do that again. And from there, like I said, you can do whatever you want. Kick, punch. And one more time. Great. From this angle. This time I'll do the other side. So it's stepping back with my right and up with my left. Pivot, down, and then elbow, follow up, boom, boom. Elbows, knees, push, disengage. Okay? Okay, one more. My feet are already back like this. So in that case, I should definitely just put this arm up, pivot this way, down, elbow, punch, 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 disengage, get away. So I will do that one more time. Do it from this angle. And go back over. Okay. Okay, next is the back choke. So when someone comes up from behind and chokes, it's kind of the reverse of what we just did. In this case, we're going to step forward and clap the hands behind the back, and we're twisting just like we did the last time. But the key is it's not just a twist this way. You want to twist, kind of look up this way, because you want this elbow to really reach around. It's kind of like this elbow becomes the arm from before, and you want to make sure that it grabs it, really puts torque on it. So if Junior comes behind me and does that, back choke, you see I'll step forward, clasp, and pivot, and then I'm ready to do whatever combatives. So we'll do that from a few angles, this side. Yep. Okay, and from this angle. angle. So doing it the other side. And you can try to hold it a little tighter this time. Let's see if it still works. Okay. And from this side. Good, one more. Okay, so that's the back choke. And then the last one is the side choke. You know he was grabbing me because I got rug burn on my neck now. And the last one is the side. There are two different ways you can do the side choke defense. The first method is if someone comes up to the side, I'll grab their wrist and tear it down at the same time as I am stepping back with my right and going low and hammer fist to the groin. So it's groin, and elbow to the chin, and then you could just transfer and spin into all of the other different combatives. The other method is when somebody comes in, you could step forward and really just spin around. In fact, you could technically, I think, do this with the back choke as well. And it's just another option to have in your arsenal. So I'll show both of those to the best of my ability. So comes in a choke. Okay, come a little closer. All right, and then I'll grab this, pull this down while I'm stepping back and down and looking for his groin. Then I look for his chest, look for his chin, then do a hammer fist here, and then continue doing that. The other way of doing this is if he comes in from the side, like I said, you could step in and then lock it and then punch. I think I do this from the back. I just want to see, does it work? Is it the same thing from the back? So, yeah, it's the exact same thing if you do it from the back as well. You can step forward with that right foot and then spin with the left and catch this arm. I'll do the back one again. So, if you do it quick enough, it'll catch, and then punch, and then the side one. Again, you could still grab this, but step forward, and then you've got it. And you probably want to get a better stance. So, if I finish right here, I probably want to step into my fighting stance, and then continue punching. So he'll do that from a few different angles, and I'll show you the different defenses. The thing I found interesting about this is like why I learned these different methods. I realized with different people, maybe one person can hold you tightly in one method and that defense won't work. But maybe if I can then try to do this one, maybe that'll help get me out of it. So I guess there's at first I thought, oh, it's going to be very confusing for me to learn different defenses to the same attack. But I guess different people, different folks, different strokes. So I think it's best for me to have as many defenses as I can. Okay, again, side choke. So. Okay. Tell you, that one's more surprising, I think, isn't it? Yeah. It kind of like, I almost surprised myself. Yeah. How the heck did I get his arm? Oh, that's a cool position to be in. So, let me try that one again. So. And it's so perfect because I can just bang, 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 really against his head. From this angle. Okay. Got caught up in his legs there. That is the side choke. And for the final part is to do the mastery drill. So Junior, I'm going to stand with my neutral stance with my eyes closed. Junior's going to circle around me, and he'll remember to tell me, close your eyes after each one. He'll be able to go around. He'll do any type of wrist grab. He can push me from the side, from the back, from the front. and he could come at me with any of the chokes. If you do want to push me, and then come in with a jab across or a haymaker. So if you push me, follow up with one of those two. And we'll go through this for about 2 minutes and see how I do. So, round one. Ding. Okay, good. Okay. And throw in some haymakers and the front one, the front try. So don't have to do it immediately, but good, good, good. Good. Do a few more. He's starting to fight back. Have you noticed this? He said, enough of this. Nice. And do the front choke, just so I can show that I can do it. Ding! Finally, the bell. Thank you for that. Thank you for watching. It's really exhausting stuff, but really fun. I think it's the first time Junior's ever done any martial arts training, and I just taught him the basics to help me out. And I think he's picking up. He's learned to keep his hands up and to keep fighting back. So that's great. Hope I did well. I'm hoping I get my yellow belt. Really excited to go into orange. If I haven't made it, tell me what I need to fix and I'll do that. And I'm sweaty. Can't wait to go back to the hotel and take a shower and put on some clean clothes. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, come here. Thank you to Junior. Say hi, Junior.
Hello, everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe.
Getting him into this YouTube thing. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, comment.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Hi Monroe, how are you doing? Happy to see that you're still working hard at it. It looks like you're in a really beautiful location there out in Miami. Man, that is nice. I wish it was as nice here as it is there. Anyways, okay, without any further ado, let's get right into it. I want to say, first of all, big thanks to Junior. He did a fantastic job. I think you're doing a really good job finding partners wherever you are. I mean, let's be honest, that can be one of the toughest things in our training, is to find people to help us out with tests, with practice, sparring, training, whatever we're doing. So you're doing a great job with that, Monroe. Keep it up. And I love the YouTube stuff too. That's awesome. Way to get people involved and sort of build a community around what you're doing. Okay, let's get started. So, what we have here, I've got a lot of stuff to go over, so I hope you're comfortable. Grab some coffee, sit down, and here we go. Okay, so first of all, I want to say, with your striking, I need to see you starting to hit something. Whether you're doing palm strikes, straight, hammers, especially things like hammer fists, it's nice to see you sort of strike something. The open air stuff is okay for demonstration, but if you can get yourself a pair of focus mitts or Muay Thai pads, have your partner hold that and have something to actually strike, that'll really be beneficial, because then I can sort of see sort of how strong your body sponsorship is and how effective your strikes are, and also how accurate they are. Focus mitts are really, really great for helping us to improve our accuracy. Okay, so speaking of straight punches, one small correction for you to make. I noticed you were covering your face a lot when you did it. My advice is don't start like this. So you kind of had your hands like this, and then you were striking like that, but you still had a hand over your face. We want to make sure that our hands are never directly in front of our face. They're ready to protect our face, preferably elbows in tight, because we want to also be conscious of protecting our vitals, pardon me, but we don't want to have hands right here. We don't want to be covered up. Don't impair yourself, right? So keep yourself right here, ready to go. And then when you follow with that strike, you know, you can strike like this. You did a great job of tucking the chin into the shoulder. That was awesome. And then covering the face at the side if you remember to. Here's the thing to recall as well. When we practice this stuff and we do it, hopefully you're working in a mirror as well. When we do it slowly, you know, everything looks really nice and perfect, but in a real dynamic situation, you'd be lucky if you remember to cover your face. But the more you practice those simultaneous things, the better you get at it. So just that quick tip right there. Don't cover your face up, just cover the side when you're striking. Okay, oh yeah, excellent rotation on those straight punches, by the way. Very good body sponsorship. That's awesome. So inside defense, that looks perfect. One small thing that I would just want to point out with your inside defense, rather than, I'm just going to turn to the side here. So rather than just slapping right here like this, what you really want to do is you want to try to slap forward. So when that hit's coming in, you want to kind of strike forward like this. So a little bit kind of coming down the arm. You know, because just in case we sort of miss something, it's nice to have a little bit of distance, right, when that strike comes in. It also gives us a bit more control. We're sort of hitting closer to the joint here, giving ourselves a bit more leverage rather than just striking the hand. So yeah, quick tip there. But other than that, good job on the inside defenses. Those parries looked really good. Yeah, the armbar thing that you did, that looked nice. That looked really good. In theory, that is a great technique to have, but just keep in mind in a real life dynamic situation, people may be striking you more than just once. If you're in a situation where you get the impression that the person is not too serious, I mean, you've seen this multiple times in videos, I'm sure, where someone just kind of half-heartedly strike. You know, maybe they're intoxicated, maybe they're just being stupid, you know, your typical douchebaggery, and they're just like, hey man, they just strike like that. In that situation, you can always parry and then switch to a nice armbar. Absolutely, kind of give the person that message that, hey, listen, I'm in control here. I'm not going to deal with this crap, right? So, but yeah, keep in mind that in real life dynamic situations, we may not have the time for a really beautiful armbar. I'm sure you realize that though. So, palm strikes looked good. Everything was nice there. Great body sponsorship. Again, just make sure you don't cover up your face with your hand. Hammer fists. Let's get into our hammer fists. The one thing that I noticed there was that you were starting with a fist. I never advise you starting anything in any sort of fist, because creating a fist creates tension. Tension in the muscles will slow down the movement of the body. So we don't want any tension. Keep your hands nice and loose. Keep them nice and open until you're ready to strike, and then go ahead and strike. Bring that fist in right when you need it. But again, great body sponsorship. I like the way you had that nice kind of rotation going on that hammer fist. Kind of comes out just a little bit, but you're not over telegraphing it. Boom, that looked really good. Just, yeah, make sure to keep the hands open all the time. That was your straight hammer fist. Your downward hammer fist looked good. Make sure you're sort of squatting down a little bit. It's sort of very much a squat when we're doing that because it's a finisher and someone might be quite low. But, I mean, really, that's close enough. You did great there. Now, side hammer fist, a couple of things I noticed on the side hammer fist. You had Junior sort of push you there, and then what you did was you went from the ready position here and you crossed your hand over and then you struck. What you don't want to do is cross your hand over and then strike. It's too much time. We don't have a lot of time. We have milliseconds in a dynamic confrontation. So really, even if you're in a passive position, basically when you're striking with that hammer fist, it's just this. That's it. It's hand up and over, okay? Second thing I want to see you do in the future is I want you to try to practice when you're doing a side hammer fist, rather than striking to the side and then rotating, try to incorporate both of those things at the same time. So you're in a passive position, somebody's here, we strike and we rotate, right? Because it gives us that added body sponsorship while at the same time allowing us to be oriented right away. No delay, right? Boom, strike, you're already oriented, you're ready to go, you're ready with your follow-ups, nice and quick. A combination that I love to do, and I'll show you real quick here. Combination that I like to do is a side to front hammer fist, and I'll just show you real quick. So just like that. So as I'm doing that side hammer fist, I'm already orienting, and because I'm already in a twisting motion here, this comes even nicer. So that combination is a real, it's a double whammy. It's a beautiful one to practice, and I highly recommend you do so. Okay. So that's side hammer. That's about it there. Okay, let's get into 360 blocks. Now, 360 blocks, I noticed you're doing 5 hand positions on there. So let's do a quick review on that because it's not 5 hand positions, it's only 4. Okay, so yeah, you kind of had this. It's really just the 4 positions, and I'll demonstrate. This is the first one right here. I noticed you had fists the whole time. I want to see hands open, because with hands open, if you happen to be in a wrong position, at the very least, you've got some fingers that are sort of extending your reach of protection, right? So the hand is tight, thumb is tight against the fingers, nice ridge hand or knife hand right here. Knife hand for knife defense, right? That sounds logical. And boom, like that. That's our number 1. So really, if you think about how a front stab sort of comes in, and I'll just grab a knife real quick here. So a typical front stab is not really going to come from a high position and down unless it happens to be extremely emotional and the person's kind of doing that wild, crazy thing. I would imagine that it's probably, based on what I've seen in videos, it's going to be something tighter and smaller, right? Tight, small stabs. Boom, boom, nice and small. Something that's not really going to be super seen rather than this classic knife thing, right? So how we want to defend that is, first of all, when we're presented with a knife and we have no other options, of course, because our stages are defense with a knife is run, throw something, use longer combatives if we can to get away. This 360 defense is our last defense. It's our last, we have no other option defense, right? Okay, so if we're defending that top stab, we want to be low, and basically we want to just get underneath that knife. Because a person, if they're stabbing us, it's probably going to be a small motion because they don't need to really go like this and come down. It's probably going to be small. So we want to recognize that starting from this position, bring the hand up from center line and extend. Okay? So that's the first one there. Second one is basically this. That's it, number 2 right there. So 90-degree angles are what you want all the time. So 90 to the best of your ability, 90, third one, 90. So if you look here, this one's protecting everything from the shoulder up, all right? This one's protecting pretty much everything from the shoulder down. Now, what am I guarding here? I'm guarding vitals. I'm guarding a lung puncture, possibly heart, depending on what side's being stabbed, spleen or kidneys, whatever side those happen to be on, I can't remember. But that's kind of what I'm guarding. And then the fourth and final one is this one right here. Okay, so a couple of things that more other things that I want to see from you is also the sponsorship of the shoulder. If I don't shrug the shoulder, this is where my hand ends up on a top block. Not sufficient. If I shrug the shoulder, this is the kind of distance that I get. Same thing here, not shrugged, shrugged. Okay, same thing here, not shrugged, shrugged. You notice that little bit of distance that I'm creating there? I do want to try to distance myself from the blade, because if the person comes in very close and I hit them here where their arm bends, I want to make sure that I'm not still getting stabbed. So the greater the distance here, the less likely, even if they move in, that they're still going to be able to reach me. And it's especially imperative on my downward block here, my fourth and final block, that I do this. I drive the hips back and I extend the shoulder to try to bring the upper part of my arm as low as possible. Because if that person does the classic grab and they move right in like this and I block here, I want to make sure that I'm low enough so that stab is not going to come through and still reach me. So I noticed when you were doing it, you sort of had yourself like this a lot. At a certain distance, this might be okay, but not likely, because people are going to come in and stab. Stabbing is a very aggressive thing. There's a lot of forward motion in it. So you need to kick out the buttocks and you need to really drop that arm. Okay, so I'm going to need a redo from you on that one. Now, what you can do, I know it's really tough when you're doing sort of a bare arm to bare arm training. You can have your partner use a focus mitt. I like to use, well, I can't show you now. I like to use pool noodles. I take a wooden dowel, stick a pool noodle on it, and they can attack you with that. And that gives you something you can really kind of smack against and really practice your blocks properly. Okay, so I need a redo from you on that one if you can. Yeah, one more tip on the 360 blocks. I highly advise that you get in front of a mirror and do those blocks really, really slowly, and make sure that you've got all your areas kind of covered right there with just the 4 blocks. Okay, cover and advance. That looked good. That looked good for the most part. The only thing I would say is let's really focus on our turtle up. So what I mean by turtle up is you were kind of demonstrating, you're kind of covering like this. I mean, granted, you're talking to me in the camera, so you don't really want to totally do this. But when we turtle up, shoulders come up like this, and I want you to grab like this and try to get the elbows as tight as you can together, okay? And the reason for that is when we're doing cover and advance and we're facing somebody who's ready to punch us, the reality is we don't really know. And I'm sure you don't have the ability, like most people, to see whether or not somebody's going to do a straight, a hook, uppercut, or some crazy downward MMA fist. We just don't know what's coming, and we don't have time to try to analyze the nature of the punch. So if we're coming in with cover advance and it happens to be straight punches that the guy's doing, even if they're sloppy elbow up straight punches, we want to make sure that we turtle up, we tuck the chin down, bring the elbows together when we advance. Because that way, if it's a straight punch coming, we can avoid having it hit us square in the face, in the nose, in the mouth, right? Maybe they might hit an elbow, which means they're probably going to break their hand, which is sort of a bonus for us, right? Less to do. There you go. So that's your cover and advance. yeah, so that's basically it for cover and advance. Other than that, good job. Now wrist grab, really good job. Great job on the wrist grabs. You demonstrated the two different techniques. I will just advise, for simplicity's sake, just remember the main principle on any wrist grab, whether it's single, whether it's one hand on one wrist, two hands on one wrist, whether it's high, whether it's low. The principle is you're breaking the thumb. You're breaking one appendage over the other four. That's really the principle to remember. And when you remember that principle and train with that principle in mind, it probably will simplify things a lot more for you. Okay, so that's that one. Oop, my mic dropped. There we go, get that adjusted. Hope you're able to hear me there. And the only other thing with the two-handed high wrist grabs is, well, a couple of things. I need to see bigger motions, right? So I noticed when he stretched you out, you kind of had that going a couple of times. There's a couple of times you went a little bit bigger, but we have to remember we're practicing this for the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is that we're dealing with somebody who is substantially larger and significantly stronger than us. So a couple of things I want you to practice with whoever your training partner is at the time, whatever city you're staying at, is I want you to get your partner, when they grab you by the wrist, I want you to instruct them to pull you, okay? Whether it's a single, double, high, low, I want them to pull you. And we're gonna go over a couple of short scenarios in a moment here. And the reason why I want them to pull you is because it makes it more real. When someone grabs the wrist, it's not likely they're gonna necessarily just stay in one position. They're grabbing you for a reason. They either want to take you somewhere, they want to pull you in and deal with you. Perhaps they want to pull both your wrists and stretch you out because somebody behind is about to grab your ankles and inside the van you go. You never know, depending on what part of the world you might be in. That is a very big reality with kidnappings, right? Is that stretching the person out, grabbing them, chucking them. Once they're stretched out, they can't do a lot. So the reason why I want your partner to grab and pull you and stretch you out, because I want you to move in the direction of the attack. So when you go to get out of that wrist grab, let's say it's a single wrist grab. Now, instead of just doing this and pulling back, let's just imagine that we don't have that luxury of pulling back because we're being stretched out. And if we're being stretched out, our leverage is decreasing dramatically, and our ability to pull ourselves out is also decreasing dramatically. We're losing that leverage, we're losing that power. However, once we're stretched out, if we can get into the habit of moving with the direction of the attack, which is them pulling us, then we move in like this and we pull. We have two things in our favor. We have leverage, power, and a possible combative, right? So if you think about it, someone pulls me in like this, and I go to escape, that elbow might reach up, right? Same thing, double hand, there could be a following headbutt that just immediately drops down on that person as they're trying to pull you. Same thing, double hand high, another headbutt could be coming in, right? So move with the direction of the attack. Don't forget that principle there. Other than that, you had the wrist grabs done really well. I don't need to see a redo on those. That's fine. Oh yeah, the one thing I wouldn't really recommend is the kick on the wrist grab. And the only reason for that is because if someone's got your hands and they're pulling you, they're going to be taking you off balance. So the last thing I want you to do is to now reduce even more of your balance by bringing a leg up to kick. I would recommend just getting out of that as fast as you can and either soft disengage or hard disengage with a headbutt or whatever you want. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so front choke defense, perfect technique, absolutely perfect technique, Monroe. You did a really good job there. You broke it down really, really well. You talked about the stepping back, the trapping of the arm. You had this hand trapping both arms. You brought him in with you, broke his posture. Everything looked really, really nice there. The only thing, I need a couple of different things from you, and I do want you to redo this choke because I need greater aggression when you're doing it, especially in your mastery drill. or the mastery that you do for the 1 minute at the end there. I need more aggression from you. And then I'd also like to see you sort of find a combative combination or a counter control counter combination and stick with it. And I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say a front choke is coming in, right? I've grabbed like this, I've got control, I'm trapping with the elbows, I'm doing a little bit of a variation, I'll explain in a minute. I'm trapping like this, boom, boom, and then I'm coming with a clinch and immediate knees. That is my personal go-to. That's my go-to for probably 95, 98% of the defenses that I'm doing. If it's a cover and advance, clinch up, right? Side choke, clinch up. That's what I love to do. Now that may not be the same for you. You may want to just, instead of doing control counter, or pardon me, I mean like counter, control, counter, you may want to just do combatives at this point. But the point is, what I want to see is you sort of choose a combination that works for you and stick with it. The reason I say that is when you were demonstrating the choke, you sort of had this, you got this down, and then there was a moment where you had to think. So you broke out, and then you were like, okay, what am I going to do here? And that's totally normal. But what I want to try to do is I want to decrease the time between the attack and your final combatives. So everything moves and flows really, really nicely. So even if we do it slowly, right? So flow, there's no gaps of time between everything that's happening. Because in a dynamic situation, we just don't have that time. So, so the two things there is I want to see more aggression, and I want to see a chosen series of combatives that you're defaulting to, get them down and decrease the time. So make it speedy with more flow, or in Hebrew they call it chetzev, which is continued motion. No pauses, continued motion. Okay, so back choke, a couple of things here. You'll have to redo that one as well. So first thing I noticed, and I'm going to turn my back to you, even though it's kind of rude. When you did the back choke, you stepped forward, which is really good, but then you interlocked your fingers. So I never advise anybody interlocking their fingers, because in a dynamic situation, this could get hurt. I don't want to get locked up. So all we're going to do here when we step forward is we're going to just cover like this. However, I'm going to give you a little bit something extra to work on, since you're going to be redoing this anyways. When that back choke comes in, okay, because the initial direction of the attack is pushing forward, right? We're reacting to that. I want you to reach back and even just get your hands on the person's hands that's choking you. Okay, now why am I saying that? The reason why I want you to practice that is because when a back choke is being applied to us, we don't really know if it's going to be a back choke, because people don't usually choke people from the back. They grab them and then they do something with them, right? It could be a shirt, it could be whatever. The reason why I want you to grab on is because you can't see him with your eyes, but as soon as you grab onto him, you can see him with your hands. And now for that millisecond of time, you know that he's still with you. And if he's still with you, as soon as you come and you hit with that nice strike, you know that he's going to be there, right? Whereas if you step away and he's not there, you may not want to strike in vain. You still may want to, but you may want to be ready to step forward with other combatives at that point, right? So the whole idea of that is really just getting a sense of what's going on back here, having some sense of control. You're not going to be able to hang on to his hands. There's not a lot of power here, but at least for that brief moment, you can see where he's at, right? So a couple more things with that back choke. Same as cover and advance, really try to turtle up and cover your whole head. Because we don't know if someone's grabbing us from the back. We don't really know if they're going to grab us, pull us, maybe they want to knee us. We don't know if they want to grab and start hitting us in the head. We don't know what's going on. So we want to protect one of the most important parts of the body, which is here and the neck, okay? So when you step forward, cover up like this, reach right back there as far as you can. You can see my hands reaching back. And then we follow up with our hammer fist that causes us to orient ourselves to the attacker, right? So the same principle applies as the basic side hammer fist that we were talking about before, or I was talking about anyways, where we orient ourselves. Really, it's a few more degrees difference. Orient ourselves, right? So follow those principles and you'll do really great on that back choke. Okay, so side choke, I have to agree with your initial thought on that, Monroe, and I really appreciate you expressing that. I think you had it right, that it's a little odd learning different techniques for the same defense. And I'll explain why. We want to try to follow Hick's law. And if you're educated, I'm sure you understand what Hick's law is. The more choices we have in a given time to make a decision, the longer it takes us to make that decision. Now, when you're in New York City and you want to decide what to go for lunch, sure, give me a lot of options. I don't care. You know, if it takes 30 minutes extra to decide between pizza and whatever else I'm going to have, that's okay. In a self-defense situation, we just don't have that time. And so what I noticed here, and don't feel bad about this, you're learning, you're training, you're trying, and I appreciate that you're not just training, but you're analyzing this stuff too. Don't feel bad. The fact that when you did that side choke, yes, you did this one here, you did that, but there was a dramatic delay in time between when Junior went to grab you and when you reacted to it. And the reason for that comes down to Hick's law. You had two choices for one defense. And those two choices, although they were given in GMAU, and I think it's cool that they give the option, my advice to you is pick one and just stick with it. For future tests, I personally don't need to see the variations. I just need you to see yourself really proficient at the one variation and really comfortable and really good with it. So now let me take a brief opportunity to try to sell you on the defense that I use for the side choke, and I'll explain why. Okay, so in a side choke scenario, the defense I default to is basically very similar to what you did. Rotating, hands coming up, and hammer fist, and I orient myself. That's what I do, okay? And I'll explain. Let's paint the scenario here if we can. The scenario here is I'm having a sort of a verbal altercation with somebody here. They're not happy, but I want to disengage. I want out of this. Okay, I'm going to start really close. And I start to rotate because I'm turning around to go away. Hey, listen, why don't I buy you a beer? And I rotate and I turn around and the person's not having it. So they reach forward and they grab me. Now let's examine the direction of my rotation here. Okay, so I'm standing like this, rotating. Standing like this, rotating. Do I want to come back like this? Perhaps. But if I'm already rotating this way, why not continue on, boom, with a hammer fist, right? I love that defense over the other one here, although this one is great. I love the other one more, just for that reason right there, for that scenario. And also because of its similarities to all the other chokes. Because if we look at them here, okay, and I'm going to give you a variation for the front choke. What you've been learning thus far has basically been the big windmill and the trapping and the plucking and the rotating. What we're going to sort of advance you into, instead of the big windmill, is we're going to advance you into the cover. It's going to be a same kind of turtle up. You're going to turtle up like this now, right? You can turtle up two hands if you want to, or you can just turtle up one hand and grab. So if you notice, this is the same as cover and advance. It's the same as a lot of other defenses, right? Where we're just basically taking the elbow and we're going like this. I'm still trapping that hand. I'm still making sure to do the windmill, except now my hand is just like this. I'm just tightening the circle of that windmill. So in the future, I'll get you to practice that. Don't feel like pressured to do it right now. I'm only going over the reason why I'm doing that because of the similarities of side choke. So let's just examine that for a second. So there's a rotation, a breaking, and then we follow. That's front choke defense, okay? Back choke defense, cover, rotation with a hammer fist, and then we can come into a clinch or whatever. Now, side choke defense, cover, rotation, and hammer fist. So you see the similarities between all those defenses? Those similarities allow each of those defenses to be more easily remembered, right? So if you want to stick to this one here for side choke, that's great. Go right ahead and do that. My advice to you is, because this one is so different than the other ones, except for this plucking is similar, but in every other way, it's very different. Because it's so different, I suggest you really practice that one tons, okay? If you're not going to, then by all means, practice that side choke defense and stick with that. The choice is yours, but for future, just choose one. Let's not make things more difficult on us. So yeah, you were bang on right there with your theory, and I appreciate you expressing that. That was awesome. Okay, Monroe, I've been very long-winded, and I thank you so much for your patience. You are doing an incredible job. So just to review real quickly here, if I could get you to do 360 blocks again, and then front, back, side choke, then we're good to go. So if you could do those in a, well, do your 360 defense demonstration. You don't have to do that in a mastery drill. The only things I need to see in a mastery drill are front choke, back choke, and side choke. Then we're good to go. Now, speaking of your mastery drill, I think you did a really great job, considering where you're sort of at with remembering the defenses and stuff like that. But for the future, when you do your mastery drill again, don't worry about cover in advance, because cover in advance is not really something we would be doing with our eyes closed. If our eyes are closed and somebody's punching us, they're going to hit us, right? So typically with cover in advance, we're in a situation where we know someone's ready to hit us, we're ready to go, and then we cover in advance. We're ready for that. We're aware, we're situationally aware of what's going on. So the only ones that you needed to do were really the wrist grabs and then the chokes. That was about it. But you did a great job anyways on the mastery drill. So yeah, just practice the 360 defense. Demonstrate that to me again, slowly and with your partner, and then repeat the front, back, and side choke. You don't have to talk about those so much. I just need you to see them. I need to see them in a mastery drill where you're doing them quickly and the reaction time is quicker. Okay? I think that's about it. Let me just make sure that. Oh yeah, and you know side clinch already. So if you want to default to going into a side clinch for all of those defenses, you go right ahead. You get that perfected, you know. So cover in advance to side clinch, front choke defense to side clinch, side choke to side clinch, all that stuff. Make it your default if you like it. Go nuts, because it's a very effective control technique. That's it. We're good. Okay, anyways, you keep up the hard work. I'm looking forward to seeing the revision that you're going to do, and stay safe, train hard. God bless. Bye-bye.
Hi, Instructor Connolly, Monroe Mann again here. Thank you for the feedback. We've worked on those 4 things that you wanted me to redo for my yellow belt test. I'll do the first drill by myself, and then I have one of my roommates, Matt, who will be helping me for the mastery drills on the 3 different forms of choke. So first, the 360 blocking. You told me there's only 4, not 5, and they should be at right angles. So here's the demonstration. And you said it should be open hand, not fist. So the first is up. Okay, the second is 90 degrees, and then 90 degrees down, and then 90 degrees, and making sure that I go back to prevent the knife attack. And then the same thing from this side, 90 up, 90 down to the side, and then completely back. And so one more time, that would be 1, 2, it should be more 90, there we go. 1, 2, and back. 1, 2, 3, and up. Great, and I'll bring Matt in now. And you said I just needed to do the mastery drill for the 3 chokes. So I'll have Matt, I've trained him very basically. He'll be going around. I'll keep my eyes closed, and I will do those 3 defenses. And I've tried to come up with a combination, as you said, that I'll do regularly. And so basically it's 2 knees with the clinch and 2 punches, and then pushing away. And depending on where I am, sometimes I realize the order changes, where it's first the clinch and the knees and then the 2 punches. And then the other times it's the 2 punches / open hands and then the 2 knees. So we'll give this a try. Wait a few more. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
You got it.
And Matt said hello to you, Instructor Connolly, so hope you'll say hi back. The same thing with the side one, even though I changed it to where if it's coming from the side here, I'm doing this, the elbow and then the palm heel. Still a split second of hesitation as I'm trying to internalize that. So I know I need to keep practicing that, but I'm hoping that it's at the level that I need to get to the yellow belt, and I'll continue to work on that moving forward. Of course, if I still need to redo some things, I'm sure you'll let me know. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your feedback. Bye-bye. And one other note, because I just watched it very briefly in fast motion, I noticed when I'm defending the front choke, this arm, or it's actually the other arm, but didn't go up all the way. It wasn't like this, it was kind of more like this. And so I kind of combined those 2 steps, and so I recognized that I need to shoot it right up. But I was trying to do it faster, as you said, and with more intensity, and I think when I did that, I was forgetting this. So I'm dinging myself on that. Looking forward to your feedback again. Thanks, bye. And one other note, because I just watched it very briefly in fast motion, I noticed when I'm defending the front choke, this arm, or it's actually the other arm, but didn't go up all the way. It wasn't like this, it was kind of more like this. And so I kind of combined those 2 steps, and so I recognized that I need to shoot it right up. But I was trying to do it faster, as you said, and with more intensity, and I think when I did that, I was forgetting this. So I'm dinging myself on that. Looking forward to your feedback again. Thanks, bye.
Hi Monroe, Christopher here. Hi Matt, good job. I'm Monroe. I'm always so, I respect so much the work that you're putting in to find new partners. It's just amazing. So yeah, Matt, I said big hi to you, and thanks for the help that you provided to Monroe to help him progress. I want to say congratulations. You did an excellent job. Very, very well done. I have a lot of respect for the way that you not only train, but you self-analyze, and you put so much effort and so much thought and focus into it. I think it's really awesome, Monroe. Keep up the good work. Now let's look at a couple of things that I would just advise for future training and future tests. However, you did pass, of course. Again, everything looked great on the blocks. One small recommendation to make when you do that downward block, make sure that you're just, I'm just going to do a side profile here, make sure you're really low, right? Because if somebody's coming in to stab and the arm is just right here, you don't want to catch the crook of their arm and have them be able to extend. So the lower you are, the better. Quick tip there, I know you'll make that minor correction and you'll train it hard and you'll do awesome. On the side choke and back choke, everything looked very clean, very precise. I love the way you were sort of punching through your target and not sort of holding back that palm strike, that hit. You went through beside the head. That was really well done. One quick tip on the side choke and rear choke. You can apply this to both of those at the same time. I'll demonstrate with the side choke here. When you come through on the rotation, rather than just an elbow, try to come through with a full hammer fist. So bang, right away. Fully extended right away, of course, while being cautious to our training partner, but just kind of stop it at their face. And that way, when you do that, well, hopefully never have to do that, but if you have to do that in real life, then you're making sure that you're fully extended. No matter what distance the attacker happens to be, you'll always get them. So if you're sort of stepping away, that hammer fist will get them. If they happen to be closer, you know, they might get a forearm, they might get an elbow. That's just it. And that same rule applies on the side choke and the rear choke. I'll demonstrate here. So when you come in, you did this, boom, just follow through with that full hammer. What you can always have your partner do as well is you can sort of work it through them slowly and say, hey, listen, Matt, or whoever you're working with, I'm going to be doing this and following with a full hammer fist. So when that comes, if you want to put your hands up like this, then you've got something to sort of touch, tap against, and that person's protected and safe. Same thing, you know, when that clinch comes in too, your partner can always just kind of bring an arm down so that you've got something to knee and they're not at any risk of injury whatsoever on soft tissue, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's about it. Now, I will say I really do appreciate the end comment that you made about the front choke. However, you are okay, and I'll explain why. When I initially teach front choke to my students and GMAU, when that's taught as well, the emphasis is always that big windmill and the trapping, right, and the rotating right there. And the reason for that is because a lot of people will sometimes, they'll do something like this, and if you've got an arm going across, it'll just catch the arm and it won't really break the choke, right? So as long as you're, as long as when you're coming up, you're plucking this hand and you're reaching, as long as your elbow is going over their arm, which I could clearly see it was, it's going over their arm and are coming down, I think you're good. I think you're good. If you were somebody who was substantially smaller, shorter, weaker, then I might say, yeah, you've got to really put big gross motor skills into it, really big, because you need a lot of room to break it. But in your case, with your level of strength, I'm not overly worried about that. We're working with people's body types, people's level of strength, size, stuff like that. So what you did is great. Just make sure, and you did, continue to do so, clearing the arm. Just clearing the arm, that's it, and you're fine. So that way you're not hitting their forearm, keeping their grip even tighter on you. So yeah, I think that's it. Everything looked fantastic. Keep up the good work. Sorry, I'm not in my usual training space. We had to go out of town for some family stuff, so I'm just in a hotel meeting room doing this right now. So it might be kind of echoey. I hope I'm clear enough to understand. Anyways, Monroe, keep up the amazing work. Train hard. Be safe. God bless. Bye-bye.